next is type of explanation. Okay, in this type of explanation, there are 4 types of explanation, which is the first one is deductive nomological explanation. Next one is functional explanation. The third one is historical explanation, and the fourth one is psychological explanation. Now let's go through one by one. The first one is deductive nomological explanation. So, deductive nomological explanation, it is known as DN model or covering models or Humpel's model. The name for DN models is stand for D is for deductive and N is for nomological. So DN is stand for deductive nomological. While name of Humpel's model is the name of German philosopher who established this theory of deductive nomological explanation. So his name is Carl Gustav Hampel. Okay, next. Nomological means pertains law. Since nomo, the word nomo in nomological came from the Greek word nomos, which means law. Thus, pertains law means depends on the law. We refer to the law. So, this whole sentence means that deductive nomological explanation is depend on scientific and nature law. Okay, next. Deductive is there to describe the strict logical connection between premises of explanatory argument. As I said just now, the explanation in this deductive nomological is strict logical. It must be related to scientific and natural law. It must be logic. I will show you an example of deductive nomological explanation. As you can see here, there is a cup of coffee. Let's say the coffee is on a table. Then, out of sudden, a boy hit the table. The boy named Thor. The glass fell down. So, when someone asks why the glass fell down, for explanation in daily life, which is normal explanation, we will say that the glass fell down because Thor hit the table. But for deductive nomological explanation, we will say when Thor hit the table, the force is sufficient enough to make the glass fall down. The word force is related to the nature law. The explanation is logic. So, that is the difference between normal explanation and the deductive nomological explanation. So, why the deductive nomological explanation is important? Here is another example I will show you. Okay, as you can see here, there are two situations, which is situation A and situation B. Situation A is like the previous example. Thor hit the table and the glass fell down. Meanwhile, in situation B is different compared to situation A, because in this situation, another person hit the table, which is Peter Parker. But the thing is, the glass is still there. It doesn't fall down. So, how can we explain this kind of thing? If we use normal explanation for the situation A, the glass fell down when Thor hit the table. And in situation B, it doesn't make sense, because Peter Parker also hit the table. But the thing is, the glass doesn't fall down. Okay, that's why deductive nomological explanation is important. So, in deductive nomological explanation, we can see that in situation A, the glass fell down because the force that Thor used to hit the table is sufficient enough to make the glass fall down. Meanwhile, in situation B, the force that Peter Parker used to hit the table is not sufficient enough to make the glass fall down. So, that is the importance of deductive nomological explanation. You can see the difference, right? Okay, next is functional explanation. This explanation is offered in natural and social science, and researchers will focus on function of a structure or system. This type of explanation are pay attention or more focused to the structure or system. Okay, as an example, when someone asks what is the function of heart, a biologist will explain that heart is an organ that pumps blood throughout the body by the circulatory system. They also can explain the function of kidney, something about evolution, and so on. Another example, when someone asks what is the purpose of monogamy, a sociologist will explain that the purpose of monogamy is to preserve the family structure. Each of these concerned with a function that a structure or system is believed to possess. Next is historical explanation. Historical explanation is related to history. So, it is actually an explanation of the past behavior of human beings in terms of their motive, intention, or purpose, which means that an explanation why did people in the past decide to do something. For an example is evolution of technology. So let me explain about the evolution of the technology. So, as you can see here, the evolution of technology. In the first picture, before this, we send letter or use telegraph to send our message to other people. But now, instead of sending letters or telegraph, now we have WhatsApp, Messenger or SMS. Even now, we have social media, which Instagram, Twitter, and so on. We can interact with our friends using all of the social media. You can also see other example of the evolution. Throughout the era, everything changed. We start to invent technology which make our life easier, such as smartphone. That is their motive of doing invention or something in the past. For historical explanation of smartphone, what is the explanation? The people in the past, they want to know, can we talk to a person that live far away from us? Can we see their face while talking to them? Or can we send them our picture? Something like that. That is our motive to invent the smartphone. So that is what we call historical explanation. Okay, next is psychological explanation. Psychological explanation is an explanation on the study or normal function within living creatures. It is used to understand the intelligent behavior of living creatures. Examples of psychological explanation are psychophysics, psychology, information processing psychology. Psychology is so wide. That's why we have many subfields under it, which is three of these. Psychological, these three subfields have their own choice, have their own explanation.
Do you still excited to watch our video? Cause I get excited to explain to you guys today. Let's learn about method of explanation. Method of explanation have two elements, which are arguments and justification. What is that? So I will start with arguments first. In everyday life, people often use argument to mean quarrel between people. But in logic and critical thinking, an argument is a list of statements, one of which is the conclusion, and the others are the premises or assumptions of the arguments. To give an argument is to provide a set of premises as reasons for accepting the conclusion. To give an argument is not necessarily to attack or criticize someone. Arguments can also be used to support other people's viewpoints. There are three things in argument, which are claim, evidence, and reasoning. Let's watch conversation between Mira and her mom.
Mira, does chemical reaction occur when you mix vinegar and baking soda?
Yes, a chemical reaction will occur when you mix vinegar and baking soda.
How do you know about that, my dear?
When I do an experiment, I mix them together and a bubble begins to form immediately. It means that the gases are being produced.
Correct. Good job, my dear.
So, did you guys understand what is arguments about? If yes, you are moving forward, baby. Next, we are moving to justification. The reason why someone properly holds a belief, the explanation as why the belief is true one. The action of showing or proving something to be right, reasonable, or true. Let's see an example. Take a look on this picture. What can you conclude? I give you 3 seconds to think. Your time's up. The motives for breaking into someone's store to steal food for his family are commonly explained in attempts to excuse a theft. Otherwise, they will perish. Here, the action seems justified. He has a valid cause for doing so. We might think that he owes the store owner compensation, but we therefore will not criticize for what he did.
Phew, hold on. I promise this is the last one before conclusion.
Facts, hypothesis, theory and law in explanation. Let's go through one by one of their definition. Definition of facts. An observation is considered as true in science if it has been continuously confirmed. However, in science, truth never ends, and what is regarded as fact today could be changed or even dismissed later. Next, hypothesis. A guess about the natural world that leads to testable deductions. The theory is provisionally validated if the deductions can be validated. If the inferences are wrong, the original hypothesis is rejected and must be discarded or changed. More complex inferences and explanations can be built with hypotheses. Theory, a well-supported explanation of any part of the natural world that can include facts, rules, conclusions, and tested hypotheses. Lastly is law, a generalization about how a feature of the natural world acts under certain conditions. We already know the definition of each, and now we want to know how facts, hypotheses, theory, and law can be explained. Now look at this pen. If I drop this pen, it will fall down. So I can make a few hypotheses. Maybe the pen is magnetically attracted to Earth, or there is a force pulling on that pen. We can eliminate all of the hypotheses and we got a theory. Thanks to Einstein, because of him, we got a theory that called as general relativity. Based on the law, I can mathematically describe how fast that pen and Earth will accelerate toward one another based on their masses and distance. Another example is a bumper car. Fact: 2 bumper cars bump each other and they bounce. Hypothesis that can be made is, the harder the 2 cars bump each other, the farther back they bounce. The relatable theory is, if the body exerts a force on the second body exerts a force equal in magnitude and opposite in direction on the first body. The law that we can state here is Newton's third law of motion.
That's all for method of explanation and fact, hypothesis, theory and law in explanation. Next, I will pass to Hidayati Amirah to conclude everything about explanation. Thank you.
So, we have covered all the topic and subtopic in explanation. Overall, what we can conclude is scientific explanation is an important goal of scientific practice. Philosophers have proposed a striking diversity of seemingly incompatible accounts of explanation, from causal law model by Karl Hampels to unification model by Philip Kitcher, and then causal mechanical model by Willie Charles Salmon. Causal mechanical model is the most commonly used by people in order to explain something. Okay, besides in explanation also, there are 4 types of explanation, which are deductive nomological, functional, historical, and psychological explanation. Each of the type of explanation have a different purpose and characteristic, but still everyone use it without missing it in their life. Not to forget also, in explanation there are 2 ways of explanation, which are arguments and justification. I hope all of you understand this topic, and last, thank you for lending me your eyes, your ears, and your heart, and your time while listening our group presentation. I guess that's all from my group. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.